Okay, we are live now, guys, for another painting stream. Um, and today I've chosen to paint up a long time ago when my store did the Dianoga um, uh, special OP kit. One of the guys for the event, we had him print up these 3D printed Dianoga tokens uh, to give out as prizes for participation for everybody. I just had it sitting on my shelf for a while, and just thought it'd be fun to paint up tonight. So that's what we're working on tonight. What about you guys?
I'm painting the high ground terrain from Shatterpoint. Um, Mainly the three buildings that come with it.
I'm just painting some skeletons, little skeletons. D&D. Trying to just get them done fast, not put a lot of detail. It's so hard though, because I'm like, I want to get them to look perfect, and I just kind of need to get them done. I'm trying to do like speed paints, but it's like, I want to do some more highlighting. They don't look good enough.
Well, I think I'm gonna start with some gore grunta. Um,
Or grunta fur.
Yeah, a contrast here because most of the like actual like reference art and stuff I can find that shows the Dianogas are kind of like that brownish reddish color.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense.
It's maybe a little browner than I actually would like.
Okay.
But I don't know if I want to mess with mixing red in with it.
So,
It looks
hold a Star Wars conversation card.
Okay.
okay.
And this is going to be multifaceted because I have a real world need to understand something about the question. So, let me just read the question first. Combine the first three letters of your first name and the last two letters of your last name to make a new Star Wars species. What is it?
I'm sorry.
Wait, what letters did you say again?
First three of your first name and the last two of your last name. What is it?
Last two.
And I think that would make mine jokey. a jokey. It's.
Or Joekai.
I guess it's probably some kind of monkey. Something that's like a knockoff of a lizard monkey, like a Salacious Crumb type.
Mine is just
I feel like it would be a hybrid monkey.
Leo-y and jokey.
Mine would be a Kuron.
Well, that sounds like a
Kuron.
Like it could be an actual species name.
Yeah, some type of like.
Sounds like they would be a warrior race. Like sort of,
Curzon is where my mind was going.
I've been watching stuff about Farscape, so I was thinking like Dargo from Farscape.
Okay.
As I reread the question, my follow-up question is a little less valid, but still, this sort of because this was what's a species. I've always seen this as like, this is your Star Wars name, and it was always first three letters of your last name, first two letters of your first name, and the first three letters of the city you were born in, which maybe they stopped doing because it's like a security question thing.
Your mother's maiden name, last four digits of your social security. What letters did you say again on that one?
The first three of your last name, and the first two of your first name, and then like your hometown or where you live or something like that. and I remember I've seen this around the internet.
Yeah, I
And
remember seeing similar
but
things to
the thing
that.
that is curious to me is I will admit my memory, if it goes back more than like a week, not to be trusted. But because I remember my Star Wars name from this, I remember getting this off the back of like a cereal box, and must have been one of the years the prequels came out. It was like one of the little things you do on the back of a cereal box. And that to me was always the origin, but then I never saw that like cereal box
That's
origin
specific.
credited on the internet where it was just, like some meme somebody posted on Facebook
Yeah.
or Twitter. So I'm like, was this like culturally transcended from the cereal box, or did it originate before the cereal box?
like in the GeoCities era of the internet. I don't remember. I just remember always hating that that scheme because my Star Wars name was shit because
Yeah.
and really every kid in my situation got screwed because like the street I grew up on was like County Road 20.
Yeah, the same with
You
like
know,
your porn name. It's like, oh, it's this in the street you grew up on. It's like, well, I
well,
grew up on like 62nd Street or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, living out in the country sucks.
Yeah, you don't get good, back of the magazine, back of the cereal box names. It was rough for us country kids.
I mean, there's numbered streets in the city too, just
Yeah,
not.
no one lives there.
I
It's
don't know.
just businesses. Anyway,
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like
you
this
get
is turning out too brown. Wonder if after it dries, if I go over it with like a wash of like with just put like a red wash on it or something like that. Because right now
I don't know. I
it
mean, I
looks like
think
earthworms kind of, and I'm not digging it so
I feel like
much.
that's a good start though. I don't know.
yeah, let's do like a dry
Seems
brush
like it'd
of
be one to.
a lighter reddish brown. I don't know. It
Yeah,
looks
maybe I could do
fine, but
that. Just
Room
sort
to
of
kind
like you
of play
said, just
around with
kind of
it, which seems fun.
like dry brush some like Bugman glow or something like that on it.
yeah.
It's kind of hard to say. I don't have a reference photo pulled up, but I feel like I would end up doing like an Agrax Earthshade wash and then some red highlighting, like you said.
You could do if you have the flesh shade wash that will give it a bit more of like a pinky reddy flavor.
Yeah, but at the same time, with this already being brown, I feel like it's not gonna bring out like the like reddish orangish
Yeah.
colors
Didn't
and quite enough.
didn't you say that was the gore grunta? Isn't that supposed to be red?
Yeah, but it's not drying
Go
very
red
red,
brown.
and I don't know
Maybe it's
if it's
the
like
3D
It shouldn't have.
printed grooves are sucking out all the red pigment.
I don't know. It's something. It's definitely drying a different color than it has on like all my B1 droids and stuff. It's much browner than.
All right, new question.
I think you do have to let it dry a bit, though. A lot of times I think it looks gross wet, like almost any contrast color. And then when it dries, it kind of settles nicely a lot of the time.
Yeah,
If you
but some of the first tentacles I've painted are already almost dry, and so I can kind of tell.
Mm,
oh,
okay, go
sorry,
ahead, Joe.
if you were a Star Wars action figure, what accessories would be included in the box?
That's a good one.
I don't know, probably like an ice cream maker, not a Camtono, just an actual ice cream maker.
Um, I mean, mine would probably come with like a little the box deck and a hollow chest table.
Mm-hmm. Chance cubes and a
A
Jarg and Sabak. I don't know what I would have for mine. I mean, I would want a cool gun Maybe like a briar pistol. That would be cool.
What about uh what's the instrument Tobias Beckett wants? The Valacord, I think is what it was.
a
Maybe
valid
that's like a
chord.
space guitar.
A jizz box or something. Yeah,
An
I think it'd be cool to
omnibox, you
have.
mean?
Uh, no, probably a jizz box. Uh, uh, what was the one that they mentioned in like every single story in the Return of the Jedi from a certain point of view? They were like constantly like Droopy McCool's clue horn or whatever. They like brought it up over and over again. I don't think it was a clue horn, but it was something like that. They like constantly brought it up. I was like, okay, we get it. um, I was gonna say I think it'd be cool to have one of the neat like Sabine used one for her hacking, or there was like the thing that the mayor had in Book of Boba that's just like a cool like vintage game thing that's been turned into a Star Wars device. I think those are really
Oh
cool.
yeah.
That would be
Yeah,
like
wasn't it
my
like an
gamepad
old
basically.
football game or something like that?
Yeah, something along those lines. Or maybe if it was more realistic and I wasn't a Star Wars character, it would just have smaller action figures in the box.
Your cats, you could have like little loth
Yeah,
cats.
that would be great. I'm gonna need to come up with some kind of graffiti for my buildings. I haven't.
That's fun.
I didn't put any on my first set of buildings. I figured I'd wait till I had more and then kind of do all that stuff at once. For what I put on there. Probably droid stuff since my buildings are sort of, I call them droid city statues.
Yeah, you could basically have some binary.
Yeah,
I
what
might
was like
I
that?
could write like beep.
What's like that droid? Well, like the slogan about like something about no meat or.
No meat, no masters would be good. That's too. I would want to
It's a
have
lot of
that on some
letters.
kind of like banner hanging off something. I mean, I could always print it on paper and put it up at like a poster.
I don't know, that like being like
Cool.
graffitied on the side of a building or something like that seems like it would fit.
I could also, uh,
Basically have
yeah, it's a
meat
lot of
in a
letters.
circle with a line through it.
So that's could be good, but that also just sounds like a vegetarian. Could just say like beep boop, like written out.
Like a little
Ichuta might
drawing
be
of
a
a
good one.
gawk. It
Yeah,
doesn't have to be words. It could be like pictures. Like I really liked the C3PO face you did on your ATSD. Something like that would be cool.
yeah, I could
Chopper
try that
face or
again.
something.
Yeah, doing like a chopper portrait would be cool. Ichuta might be pretty fun because then it's like, you know, offensive but like still PG. Is that Huddies? Do we know?
What's that? What's that?
Assume.
That sacred, like that cult of the Gonk phrase that like nobody wants to say. Is that
It's
actually in the book,
Uncle
or do they
Kingasi.
just talk about it? And
it's originates from the Galactic Phrase book written by Ben Burt.
yeah,
Fantastic book.
yeah, that's what
Um,
I can't remember if like he just mentions it and is all like it's too offensive to print here or whatever, or if it is actually printed.
it's written out. It says it's illegal to be translated.
Oh, okay, that's what it was. Yeah, you should put that on the. That's
Yeah, it's kind of long. It's like Gonk Gonk Koyunga C or
Uncle
something.
Kingasi.
It's the noise that they make if you listen carefully. They, gonk droids
Uncle Kingasi.
say more than gonk. Very verbose.
Uncle Kingasi.
And I remember I was watching the D Squad episodes of Clone Wars, some of the best Star Wars. and the gonk droid made that noise, and I was like, "Oh my god, is that a reference to the book?" And then I went back and watched uh, the scene in A New Hope. I'm like, "Oh no, it's just a reference to the sound it makes in A New Hope." So I'll have an actual gonk for my terrain soon. I ordered the last terrain thing, but probably not shipping until the playmat I also ordered comes out, so who knows. But I'm not in a big rush. Corset plus high ground is plenty of variety. Well, the other reason I want to get indoor terrain is I bought those big tree stumps from Target.
Mm-hmm.
I might end up repainting those. Those are pretty good. I don't know why Shatterpoint makes me way more inspired to like try stuff with terrain than Legion did. Even though it's like ostensibly harder to make terrain for Shatterpoint than for Legion.
Yeah.
Because you kind of
matters a lot more in Legion and
it either needs to be like totally flat or totally not standable on in Shatterpoint, whereas Legion is and it also does matter more in Legion. It's a lot more just the verticality matters in Shatterpoint, and that's sort of it, and then the rest is scenery.
Yeah, there's like so much terrain. It feels like I haven't played that much, but it feels like a lot of the terrain just ends up being like set dressing. It's kind of in the background, and you know, it's like, well, the map looks like it should have more stuff on it, but this is not going to be part of the gameplay at all. It's never going to block a line of sight or anything. It's just we want some Star Warsy crates.
Some things,
whatever.
Like, well, the crates potentially they're usually there to potentially stop some shoves. If they're not giving you cover, they still might prevent you from being pushed farther away. So, like, you could try and position yourself. I'm standing by this objective. I'm going to make sure I put the box behind me, so I'm between the box and this guy coming, so that he can't shove me off the objective because I'll hit the box first. Like, there is some kind of strategic implications, but a lot of the time it is just sort of set dressing, which I don't mind because it's fun having a table that looks and feels cool. But like, it's also like if you make them tall enough, like my chopper statue, my droid statues, they're tall enough to block line of sight. Because height is really the only thing that affects line of sight, so that's can be useful. We got Chad Hall. Woot, glad I caught this, he says. Welcome to painting. Leo's painting a Dianoga. I'm painting a high ground stuff for Shatterpoint off camera. And what do you say you're painting? Owen and Baru?
Skeletons.
That was a terrible joke, Joe.
Too soon? What are the skeletons for? Like, are they from something?
They're like for D&D.
He's getting ready for Halloween
some
next
like
year.
Reaper packs. Yeah. It would have been cool to paint them in October, but yeah, I'm kind of planning to run a D&D starter adventure session sort of thing for my nephew who's 8, and I was thinking like what's like the least problematic monster I could have for my nephew's formative D&D memories.
Yes, the answer
is
I
don't want like an
spooky,
evil
scary
race.
Skeletons.
Yeah, I figure it's like spooky. It's a foe that's unequivocally evil in a non-bad way, and they're not like a boss monster. They should be just easy to kill, but they're like a little spooky to a young kid. So there'll be like a little tension, but easy to kill. And I don't actually have that many skeleton minis, so I was like, oh, I have these like Reaper packs picked up for a few dollars at the game store at some point. Like, might as well throw some contrast on them quick. They're okay. They're fine.
Are there going to be other players? Or is it just you like GMing for a solo campaign for your nephew?
I guess I don't know for sure. I assume that like his parents or my wife maybe will like join in, but he'll kind of be like
It's too dark.
focus.
The main
Maybe his
character.
younger sister will like want to play, and we'll be like, okay, you can be like a baby dragon here, and she'll like probably not sit at the table that much, you know. So we gotta be kind of ready for any situation and just kind of roll with it. And
Well,
It-
how old is the younger sister? Because she might be a good dice roller.
yeah, I think she would enjoy playing and having other people figure out the math, and
Yeah.
we just probably won't hold her to many rules. So she is 5.
Christian says skeletons the most Star Wars thing out there. I mean, most things in Star Wars have a skeleton, if you think about it. Not many
Except Dino
invertebrates.
So I
Um,
decided my red wash is too dark. I got like a Carolberg Crimson. That's too dark, so I'm gonna just try thinning down like this Evil Sun Scarlet
I missed that paint.
to make kind of
Place
like
it with-
just a thin glaze with to go over. And see if
So-
we can bring this towards red a little bit more.
I think it was last time we were playing at a friend's house. They have a 3-year-old, so sometimes we sort of play our games around him, or like let him roll the dice. And the rule is, if you roll a die and you don't like the result, you can ask him to roll it, and that stands, whatever. But I think Bethany had the idea that there should be a system where basically the dice rolling mechanic or the randomization is sort of the computing power of that is offloaded onto a child. So basically, anytime you need to roll a check, you instead consult just some 5 or younger year old and go, does this happen or what happens here? And they tell you.
So basically,
you're
it's
beholden to
your
that.
role-playing game is Axe Cop.
Yeah, it's like Axe Cop if the
Honestly, yeah.
if the dice were a child, sort of. But the dice also have presumably would have some sort of narrative. They might get carried away with that, and you just have to live with it.
Yeah, I assume the reality of playing with kids is, I mean, it's going to be a lot more like make believe and a lot less like and I mean, most of the rules of real D&D are too complex, so I'm kind of
That's
assuming
fine. They're
I'm
too
going to
complex
just
for
have to
me.
come up. Yeah, it's not about like actually teaching the real rules and be like, well, actually that requires a bonus action which you've already spent this round or whatever,
Dummy.
right? It's gonna have to be pretty fast and loose, and like I don't want to like create real characters with them, so I think I'm
Oh
gonna have
right,
like
yeah, just pre-built.
some starter characters that basically have like very few of the actual stats, like just enough to be like this looks like D&D. He can sort of basically have played D&D, but doesn't really have to worry about real rules. I don't know. It's gonna be
I mean, that's about
pretty fast and
that's
loose.
kind of what my first uh, role-playing experiences were. Was actually with my English teacher back in middle school. He did like a role-playing group thing, which was kind of amazing for that time. I mean, now it's fairly
Yeah.
common, but I mean, back then there was still like satanic panic shit around role-playing games going on. But yeah, so like he did like we had like some GURPS and Traveler books, or I mean a GURPS and Rifts.
That
And
even to me, I don't know what those two words mean, and it's the weirdest thing. Be like, yeah, we had some GURPS
Wow.
and riffs, just some Minnesota shit.
That's pretty classic old school
Too old
role playing
school.
stuff.
Yeah.
GURPS and Traveler. Traveler's like absolutely like foundational for sci-fi role playing.
yeah, and like he would just sort of be like, go in there and like find a ship you want to have, or like find an alien you want to be, but like the actual like playing the game, we didn't really follow too many rules. It was mostly just like we would say what we would want to do, and he would, tell us what happened when we did what we wanted to do. There
Sounds a
wasn't a
lot
lot.
like clumsy and random.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of dice rolling and things like that, and it was a lot of fun though, just doing it that way. I mean, at its essence, I mean, playing a role playing game is just uh, playing Let's Pretend with extra rules, and we just cut a few of those rules out. Mostly, we're just
Christian
doing Let's
says
Pretend.
he's actually playing a Rifts campaign right now.
Wow.
It's a wild setting. So what is Rifts?
Just it's an old school sci-fi role playing game.
It's like where you used to be close with your family, but there was a big issue that came up, and now you're.
Yep, that's it.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's a rift.
Yeah, we got it, Joe. Don't worry.
Oh, I get it now.
Oops. There, that's a little better. I think it's not as brown. It's got more of a reddish
Good
orange
highlights.
color
Christian
to it.
says, real fancy pants TTRPG people call that style of no dice, just referring to playstyle. Free Kriegspiel Revolution.
I'm gonna call it Let's Pretend because that's what it is. Okay. No fancy names. Sorry, boys.
Yeah, why? First of all, if you're
I
gonna,
think that's
why
what-
would you call it Kriegspiel? That's just a war game. That's like that makes me think of like miniature war gaming.
It's Let's Pretend.
Yeah.
Pretty sure Kriegspiel is German for what Leo said.
Yeah. Actually, I think
I'm right.
Eh.
It's war game.
Agree to disagree.
I think that's actually like what I said before about how role playing is Let's Pretend with extra rules is actually how role playing is described in the beginning of like one of like the West End game source books. They're like, what is a role playing game? Well, it's like Let's Pretend on the playground, but with rules.
I mean, yeah. And then I guess do you think that's an easier sell to an adult who's maybe skeptical of role playing, saying it's playing pretend with some structure and rules, or saying it's improv with some more structures and rules? Both are correct.
Yeah, adults are pretty.
I can feel people turning their nose up at both of those things.
Yeah.
Where
for some people you could be like it's a board game with more imagination or something, more freeform board game sort of.
all right, this one could be interesting. Wait, Christian, oh, he's following up. It was the way old-timey folks referred to Kriegspiel, just by referee judgment. Is Kriegspiel like a game? Did like somebody go, I'm going to call this game War Game because it's so much in the olden days, no one has called a game that yet. The rules just let adults think it's okay to play pretend again because we all got poisoned into being serious.
Yeah, basically.
I'm going to wait to ask this question until I get a follow-up on Kriegspiel. It's wargaming, like what military folks use to learn strategy and such. Oh, okay. People would get like
but they gave it
out of the
German
army
to
and they'd
make
be
it
like, "Oh man, it was so fun when we did those like pretend maneuvers. I wish we could do that again." Like, well, we could do it in our minds at this table in fantasy land.
I remember in high school when the U.S. Army recruiter would call up all the high school boys and be like, "Hey, I'm your pal. I bet you want to join the army." I remember him telling me, "Oh, yeah, Dungeons and Dragons. In the army, they love people who play Dungeons and Dragons. It means you're good at strategy and coming up with complex scenarios and creative
You're
problem
you're
solving.
practically
You'd
a
be great at killing Iraqis or whatever." What a world.
Have you ever had a bad feeling about something and been right? What happened?
uh, what?
That's the question.
Like, I got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess uh, that's like a thing that happens like every day.
Feels like something
Yeah.
that would just be like, should I eat this thing that has this much cheese? Got a bad feeling about it. And then later I'm
Hey,
like, oh, yeah, I was right.
yeah, or it's like I have a conversation with my coworkers, and then it's like, well, I've got a bad feeling about this one.
Pretty sure this pipeline's gonna break. Yep.
I know that's not your job, but the way you said that in response to Leo makes it sound like your job is like eyeballing whether pipelines are about to break. Like you're
Yeah.
talking with
Digital
your coworker and
pipelines.
you go, ugh, yep, that one. And then also that you don't do anything about it. You just like get to be it like the I told you so guy.
I said this one wasn't looking so good. You boys, you never listen.
You and your fancy, smancy sensor suites. My day, we used to look at a pipe and know if it had a fracture. It's called using your
Christian
eyeballs.
teaching me about German history. He
Old
says this.
timey word, old timey gaming
Well, it's
history.
called Kriegsspiel because it was like in the late 1800s, German officers doing war games at an academy, and there were two schools of thought. One had rules and probabilities and stuff, and the other didn't, which is why they call it like free Kriegsspiel.
Yeah, the Kaiser says we have to play Curse of Strahd.
I don't think we need to roll the dice. I think it's better if we have like one guy, we put him up on like a ladder, and he says like what's happening. We say, "I shoot that guy," and he goes, "No, you missed." Try again. It's not your turn anymore. The war GM.
I mean, that had to feel crazy at the time. Like the first time you saw it, like there's an extra person who's not playing, but they know all the rules and they're all the other characters were all fighting him.
Especially before like, because nowadays you can explain it to somebody being like, well, basically that person is the computer. Like he's the Xbox, he's the PlayStation, he's what the game is
Yeah.
running on, his brain. But like they didn't have those concepts back then because there weren't computer games. Like I don't understand.
Well, you'd just say he's the referee, I'm sure.
The writer,
He's the adjudicator.
he's
He
God.
holds your life in his hands. Think you can succeed at his scenario?
He looked a puzzle up in a book of puzzles he checked out from the library. You're gonna have to solve it.
Do you have the wits, my lord?
Not enough of the role playing games I've played have like actual puzzles in them, or like things like that. Like Like it always boils down to like the GM maybe tries for like a session or two, and then after a while it's just kind of all like, yep, you run into the bad guys and then you fight them, and then you run into the bad guys and then you fight them, and
Yeah, some of the
Most
problem with puzzles, I might assume, is that the intelligence levels of the characters and the players are usually not lined up.
yeah. A lot of times it'll be like, well, can I roll intelligence to get a clue? And like that can be a good starter point. But yeah, I think most games I've played that had a puzzle like that, it was it just like really slowed things down. And you could see the GM immediately regretted it. Like we're all trying to figure out and he's like not playing anymore.
um, Bossy Graham, welcome to the chat. Bossy Graham asks,
Ooh.
"What are you painting?"
a Dianoga.
To go with that like layer of the Dianoga OP kit
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, whatever it was called, I can't
That
remember.
I think it's called Layer of the Dianoga. I played it once. It was I like those because they mix things up, but also
It
they're
like
always like, maybe I don't want to play that again.
it like wasn't play tested super well, so like
No, I don't think many of them are, just because it's like, well, it's going to be a thing people play for a month.
yeah.
But
Like I feel like it's a thing where like a really good scenario could be in there, but it was like just sort of like you just once you kind of both got in range of it, then it was just sort of like you and the other player just throwing the Dianoga back and forth at each other, getting it to attack the other team's units each turn, and you just kind of did that until the game was over. But like the idea behind it, having like the neutral threat on the board, is definitely a
yeah,
very cool one.
Yeah.
I
They
it's
could
know.
always
do more
hard
of
to
that.
like come up with the so-called like AI for that kind of neutral thing too
Uh
that
huh.
feels fair. Like if you're either like in this scenario, basically the players are each controlling it. In other games, it might be like, well, at this phase of the game, roll a die and consult chart to see what it does.
Yeah, I feel like there's got to be some randomness so it feels uncontrolled. But
Mm-hmm.
obviously, then you get swinginess too. People don't like that. Are you allowed to attack the Dianoga
I
in
don't
this scenario?
I don't
think
think
so.
so.
Choose between these jobs: bartender in the Mos Eisley Cantina or server on Jabba's sail barge. Why did you pick that one?
I
I
guess
feel like
the
one of them, historically not exploding, bartender in the cantina for sure.
yeah, for sure.
Because Java's sail barge, you're not really employed as much as you are like indentured or enslaved. Uh, it explodes. Just a lot of
Probably
You could
some
get thrown in the
sex crimes.
and even
yeah.
even if you're employed in the period of time before it explodes, well then there's you know,
Jabba might just not like the way you look that day and
Bounty
throw you
hunter
in the pit
kills
or the
you.
rancor. Whereas the cantina, good band, good music. Well, Jabba's Palace is good
Hmm.
music too, but
I
the sail
didn't like
barge.
the
Fair.
music on the sail barge though.
Yeah, it was a little more kind of jazzy
Classical?
elevator music.
That's
Um,
the one that's like almost classical sounding, isn't it? Boop,
it's like
boop-a-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
keyboardy.
Boop-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Um, if I stick with the
I might be thinking of
cantina
a different
long
one.
enough, R5D4 shows up, and Dr. Mandible, and those guys are cool. I want to hang out with them.
Yeah.
Or maybe, just at any point in time, there's cool things and cool people happening there, and no messes with the
Although
bartender.
it would be cool to fly around. It would be cool to go see. the Sarlacc, or
Mm,
see I don't know where else do they fly. They maybe go see like a crate dragon. You get to like shoot at the crate dragon. Like they let you use the gun. Maybe you get on Jabba's good side and you're like, hey, can I shoot the gun, Jabba? I want to shoot the Sarlacc with your big gun. Can I do that, please?
That
And
sounds
Jabba's
like a
like, sure, you're
euphemism.
cool.
I just want to be the guy behind the bar who, serves the drinks. Hopefully, it's later in the future, so I don't have to kick out droids because I'd feel bad going like, "Sorry, guys." But maybe I'd have like a sign that explains like it's not because we hate you; it's just like a capacity issue. You're not drinking, so you're taking up space, and we're running a business. But I also want to be the guy who goes like, "Oh, you," gives that kind of like hands on hips look whenever somebody like murders somebody else.
They're like, here's $1. Get rid of the body for me. The cops are on their way. You're like, God damn it.
Yeah, and then you can like mulch the bodies. I think in Legends, Greedo was like
Turn them into
distilled in
a
like a
drink.
vat and made into a drink.
Sounds delicious. Good idea, Wooer.
Hey, it's hard. It's resources are scarce in the desert. It's like Dune. Don't they just like stick a straw in dead people and suck out their moisture?
Yep, that's exactly what they do.
It's a religious rite, okay.
Well,
I think
amongst the Fremen, I mean, when they do it to like outsiders, that's just them being all like, "Fuck you guys."
I'm imagining this alternate universe where Joe is working the bar in A New Hope and whatever change of ownership, etc. happens. The rebellion wins, and then now the Mos Eisley Cantina becomes the Mos Eisley Game Board Cafe. Board game cafe.
Game board.
And all the tables have like Dejaric and stuff like built in. You can like rent chance keys.
There's holographic DMs for your group. Like there's like a droid or a hologram that will DM your role playing games.
That'd be fun. Although, when we saw it during The Mandalorian, I feel like it did not have a cool band anymore.
No, it was like empty. Maybe the droids,
I would want
because
a
the
band.
droids are working it now, which sort of implies like some kind of like business type guy. He's like, well, I don't have to pay the droids to work the bar. I got to pay people, so we're just going to replace the people with droids.
Gotta at least have like a jukebox uh, built into a old gonk droid, right?
Could be a Luke box. Oh, a Gonk droid jukebox. I mean,
I
nothing's
like
going
the
to top
dancing
that.
gonk droids in Jedi Survivor. You
Or
got like the
the
droid DJ.
DJ at Pyloon Saloon. Pilot, you know what? Screw this.
Yeah, he's got
The
gaming upstairs.
screw the sail barge. Screw the Mos Eisley Cantina. I want to go to Pyloon Saloon. That place is the coolest.
It's like my favorite part of the game, honestly. I
It
just like
it
walking around.
genuinely is. I love that place. Got a cool
You can talk to
aquarium.
like
It's got
lots of
a
cool people.
gaming room. Yeah, lots of cool characters. Lots of great designs.
Go
Great
upstairs and have a
bartender.
smoke on the balcony and look at cool plants.
Go flush the toilet. Love a good flush. The DJ is great. The music in there, it's all on Spotify. I listen to it sometimes. It's good.
They did just like a great job with the vibe. It's like very homey. It's like I do just kind of want to like hang out
But that whole
and
town is
like
cool. It's like
chat with Grease.
it's such like a perfect little like Star Wars Western town.
He's like the type of guy who would be like giving you like homemade stuff he's been brewing, just like pull it out for free from under the counter and be like telling you crazy tales. Pretty fun.
The only thing that would make me pick Mos Eisley over that is if Akmina was there. But I don't know if she's technically in the same cantina or if it's a different cantina.
Who's that?
I guess we got to watch the holiday special. She's the bartender from the holiday special in Mos Eisley because it's B. Arthur plays her, and then the whole point of the scene is the musical number where she is singing for everyone to go home. One more round, friend, then homeward bound, friend. See, if you got to hear that every night, then maybe I'd work there. And there's a guy who drinks by pouring liquid in the top of his head. Great stuff.
That should not be allowed in public.
It's not. It's only done in private. I think we need to make you sit through that with us for Christmas. That can be our Christmas gift to the patrons this year. We can make it a patron exclusive thing.
Just so hard. I've tried at least 3 times.
Well, you can have an edible or something and sit
Would
down.
help.
Did I shake this?
Last time I tried, we at least made it all the way to the cartoon,
That's the best part.
but we could not make it very far into the cartoon. It was like, this has already been such a slog.
Did you watch
Everyone
it
was
with
already over
without
it.
commercials?
I assume it had commercials, but I don't remember.
In both. The commercials are good because it's fun to watch old commercials.
The last time we watched it, it was the Riff Tracks version, which I thought, okay, this is what's gonna make it possible because we'll have like funny commentary the whole time. And again, we did get further that time, but it was still too hard.
Yeah, even those guys, it's like they can only do so much to save a movie. Because I mean, there's some
Yeah,
like even like like
black and white ones especially is
yeah,
hard.
or like Manos Hands of Fate. I mean, there's just no way around it. That movie is just a slog to watch, even with somebody making fun of it nonstop.
Yeah, it's
Well,
kind of weird how a few of their like top episodes are a few of those really hard to watch ones. Manos specifically is a great example. I've seen it a few times. It's a hard one.
I vote we do Patreon exclusive holiday special commentary for Kurt. And by for Kurt, I mean for our fans who like to see people suffer.
In that one, there's no copyright or anything, so we can just include the whole video. You don't have to
Well,
launch your own version.
it'll be a Patreon exclusive, so
Is
it
there no
won't matter what I put in
copyright?
there. On Patreon, I don't know.
No, I meant on the holiday special.
I don't. Though that's
I doubt it.
interesting. There's
I know like George Lucas likes to pretend it doesn't exist, but I can't imagine like
there.
Lucas or Disney
I
just like leaving the
I mean,
copyright and just being like fuck it.
Disney's very happy to use Life Day and the Boba Fett cartoon in stuff these days. The Boba Fett cartoon's on Disney Plus.
Hmm.
Um, I can't remember what I watched recently where somebody said like we can you can watch this online because it's not going to get a copyright takedown because no one wants to admit they own it. But that's probably like it's probably never going to get copyright takedowns, but I feel like they almost certainly still own the copyright. Um, if anything, they would clearly own the copyright to all of the characters in it, if not the whole. But there's a documentary coming out. I think it's like in select theaters now, some kind of indie documentary called A Disturbance in the Force about it. And the weird thing was the latest trailer, like specifically called out that they weren't going to or be able to use footage from the special in their trailer, but they would be in the movie, which is I don't
Okay.
know why couldn't you put it in a trailer, but you could put it in your documentary. But
Maybe like the documentary falls under fair use, but for some reason, like the trailer is some kind of
yeah,
that doesn't
Promotional or something.
meet the fair use
I'm probably gonna watch
requirements.
it. I couldn't tell from the trailers I've seen if it's gonna be another like kind of cringe people versus George Lucas sort of thing, or if it could be funny. But like the people they're interviewing is of course like Seth Green and can I think of his name? Kevin Smith, but also like Weird Al
Oh
and
yeah.
Gilbert Gottfried and stuff. So it's just like all
Mm-hmm.
over the place. It's like, well, maybe I'll watch it and see if it's like, is it just going to be shitting on it for the sake of it, or is it going to be like telling me how it happened and being a little more informative? I don't know.
Yeah, what I want to hear is like the oral history, like that type of
I
documentary, not
I
like
got
people going like, "Oh, it's really well known" or whatever.
I got some of that when I saw it the second time when I went to it at the Fargo Theater because it was
Mhm.
some guy who like did it for charity. Like the tickets were like I don't know $5 or donate a toy for Toys for Tots or whatever. And before it started, he was explaining that like one of the guys who worked on it and like was one of the main people behind it like lived in Minneapolis where he lived and he would like write him a letter all the time and the guy just wrote him back finally and just like said I'm sorry I made this, stop asking me stuff.
Tried to forget about that time in my life and move on.
So yeah, I hope the
I mean, I could see
documentary
it being
has more of
embarrassing.
yeah.
It would be cool to like just lean into it though. Like I love
Yeah,
like
I'd be
with
proud of it.
like the Troll 2 documentary best worst. Well, there's kind of a journey that the characters on that go on, which is kind of fun when they're kind of like, "Oh, people think I'm cool for this. Oh, people think I'm dumb for this." Still make money off it though.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Well,
it's kind of interesting.
yeah. Or there's or there's people like Tommy Wiseau who like after The Room became like the world's biggest joke, like he's like totally leaned into it and was all like, "No, I meant it to be funny the whole
Mhm.
time. I'm a funny guy."
Yeah, so I hope that documentary is available somewhere eventually and actually like informative is like
Cuz it's not
a
like Disney
history of like
affiliated.
the filmmaking. Yeah, it's like an independent thing. The other thing that turned me off of the trailer is using like a weird AI Darth Vader voice, or maybe it wasn't AI,
Uh,
just like, you know, modulation or whatever.
algorithmically.
But it didn't
Yeah, yeah.
sound good enough. And I was like, this is corny. It's like, forget everything you know. Whatever. I'm like, I don't know. I know. If you were a Jedi in hiding in the secret rooms of the hidden path, what phrase would you
Okay.
carve into the wall? First of all, I'm not a vandal. Why would I want to leave evidence of my existence in case that place ever got compromised? Like that place on I don't remember the name of the planet
Where
they're on in
Obi-Wan
Kenobi.
sees like all the names and
Yeah,
stuff.
he's like, "Oh, it's Quinlan was here."
Quinlan
It's like,
Voss.
"Well, now the Empire knows Quinlan Voss is still alive. Good job, Quinlan. You
Or
need to carve your name."
someone else carved Quinlan's name as a joke. It's like, ha, here's the dumbest Jedi I know.
Like like when you put like the number of the person you hate on the bathroom stall and you're like, "Call for a
Yeah.
good time."
Right. Right. Call Quinlan Voss for a good time. Or it was like Quinlan Voss sucks, and like someone else came and like covered up the sucks because like, well, that's kind of mean. But The boss does suck.
True
Right.
story.
I think I'd probably just put like, I don't know, fuck Darth Vader or something. Something
Yeah.
dumb like that. Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker, and he sucked even then. Something like that.
I'd probably put something like I knew I should have fucked her.
All that celibacy for nothing.
Maybe you could like count on uh the Empire finding the safe house and put like a sort of a misleading message that would lead the Empire to the wrong place.
Palpatine was here. Secret Jedi.
Palpatine
Look me
kisses a
up on
goat.
Dantooine.
Ooh. Painting terrain. I need to find a better way. There's gotta be a better way. We need a new question.
Yeah, maybe. Oh no, my pay cap.
No one in chat has answered the questions. By the
Yeah.
way, anyone watching, if you want to type your responses out, feel free.
For example, to this question, this is a dumb question, but it'll be easier for the chat to answer since they're struggling. Jedi lightsaber blades are usually blue, green, purple, or yellow. Which color would you choose and why?
Not yellow very often.
Um,
Well, I mean, every temple guard had one. We just didn't see them very much.
I really like yellow lightsabers. I
Yeah,
bought a
me
yellow
too.
crystal for my Galaxy's Edge Savi's lightsaber, but apparently they still haven't figured out how to make yellow LEDs very good. So it's sort of a greenish yellow, sort of like Ahsoka's one of her blades in the Clone Wars. And I'm like, it's not
I
yellow
mean, that could
yellow.
be cool, but it's sad if it's not what you expected. Yeah.
Right. It's not yellow yellow, which is what I wanted. But I remember back in college when I bought like an Ultra Saber and like yellow wasn't even an option, and they specifically had a thing saying like we can't make yellow LEDs that we like. And so I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, okay, it's been like over 10 years. Maybe that they figured that technology out, but apparently still hard to make yellow LEDs. So
I
usually my
do like
go-to is
yellow.
green. My current the crystal currently in my custom saber is white. It's usually green, yellow, and white are my picks.
I do orange occasionally. Like I think last time I was playing Jedi Survivor, I think I might have switched it to orange. And I think I did orange sometimes in Jedi Knight. There's a nice dark coppery orange kind of color that can look kind of cool. There were so many cool lightsaber colors in the Young Jedi series back in the day. Like I think Tenel Kaz was like smoky gray or something, right? Like they had
I don't
and
remember.
like
Yeah,
copper. There's like cool blade
yeah,
colors that was like, oh, these Jedi kids are awesome.
yeah. I like. That's one thing I
Christian
like with.
says we got to answer. Christian wants a white one.
That's one thing I do like about the Old Republic game is they do have some cool varieties of colors for the lightsabers because it can have so you know how like the inner glow of like all lightsabers is white. So
Mm-hmm.
they'll change that up too. So like Like my favorite in the game is to have like either a purple or an orange lightsaber with like a black inner glow instead of a white inner glow, and that ends up looking really cool in the game, anyways.
Hmm.
Like I don't think
That sounds
that's
cool.
yeah. I mean it's a thing you can do in the game, but I don't think you could ever like really accomplish that in like reality. I don't think you'll ever see a saber at Galaxy's Edge like that.
But you don't see a saber anywhere that's like a normal saber because they can't have a colored or a colorless core until you take a picture of it. That's what I discovered in college was when you take pictures of your lightsabers, they look like they're supposed to in the photo, even if they don't look like it in real life.
I want, instead of a solid color, I want it to be like an animated GIF.
Of
Like a
so it's
Call
like
of Duty waifu
strobing,
skin.
like rainbow strobing. You can
It's
sort
like
of get that
Obi-Wan
because
going hello there, and it's like constantly playing across the length of the blade. It's a premium unlock.
I did see like a rainbow one because I think the ones from Galaxy's Edge have all the colors in the blade because it's needs to be able to change if you swap out the crystal. So somebody modded it or something to just like pulsate all of the colors, so it's just sort of like a rainbow rave blade.
Like I had like a role playing in like a role playing session at one point. I had a Jedi that had like a red, a blue, and a green crystal in his saber, and then he had like a knob for each one, so you could adjust like the focal length between the different crystals, and depending on how he adjusted that, he could like just sort of change his blade to any color he wanted at any time.
For just
Like a
because
PC
on
case
his mood,
light controller.
the RGB gamer Jedi.
Uh-huh. Basically. But like this was like in high school, so like
Before it was
yeah,
invented,
RGB
original
case
idea.
mods weren't even a thing. Like building your own computer wasn't really even a thing yet.
Computers didn't even exist. It was all like vacuum tubes.
Yeah. We were playing with like abacuses and stuff.
I also like white lightsabers because of like lore behind them, where it's like a formerly red crystal. So if you have a white lightsaber, it means you probably beat a dude with a red one, which is cool.
So hot take, I think light Jedi should be able to have red lightsabers too. And I think dark Jedi should be able to have other colors. At least Balin and Shin Hati got to have the kind of slightly orangish, like slightly different red. Like
Yeah.
that's something, but
I
I bet there should
mean,
be an evil guy with a blue lightsaber, and you're like, oh, he must be good, and then he's not.
oh, you mean like you don't? It's
He
not
likes
that you wish
blue.
from the
I don't
very
know.
beginning it wasn't hard coded that red is bad guys, blue is good guys. You still want that history to exist, but have a new story with a guy with a blue lightsaber, and everyone goes, "Oh, okay," and then he's like, "Just kidding, I'm bad."
Yeah, I mean that would be really interesting. I think it would be cool to have like a self-taught force user who had like found a red lightsaber somehow, or like maybe they killed an inquisitor. I don't know. Maybe their dad was an inquisitor, something like that. They have a red lightsaber and they like can't turn it white, but it's like fine. You can use a red lightsaber and it doesn't have to make you evil or something. That would be kind of interesting. People are like, oh, he has a red lightsaber, and he's just like, I don't know. It's just the one I found. It's
My
not a big
favorite
deal.
color, bro.
Yeah, people can like red. If Luke can fly red 5, then Luke can also have red lightsaber, I say.
Let's see. Eyeballs. Kind of a yellowy color.
Like a yellow green, isn't it?
Hmm.
Where's the eyeball
Yeah, a
on
little
that
spot
thing?
of yellow would be cool.
Oh, I see it.
Right there.
I think it's looking really good right now. I like the color variation between the back, or like the underside and top of the
Is it
tentacles.
is it climbing on top of some kind of debris?
It's kind of like just popping out of a bunch of garbage, swamp,
Emerging.
muck.
So you probably throw some metallic on all the
Yeah,
garbage and then
yeah. Like there's a bunch of like here's one of those, the 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 pipe, like that they from the
oh,
trash compactor, and there's like other little bits of mechanical stuff in here
That's cool.
that I'll.
are you gonna put some like gloss on all like the muddy bits? Make it look real slimy.
I don't know. I don't know. I might not. Not sure.
Are you guys eyeballing any Black Friday sales or
um,
hobby stuff?
no, I looked
Game
through everything
stores or
on
anything?
Miniature Market and see anything. There's nothing like I really need right now, so I wouldn't really be saving that much money. I would just be buying something I didn't need.
I should have dropped some black in here first before doing this yellow. Oh well.
Kind of wish I'd held off on some of the Shatterpoint stuff just because it's on sale now. But that you cannot run Vader Obi-Wan pack. I think sold out on Miniature Market real quick because it was only $50 instead of
Oh
90.
yeah, that makes sense.
Because most people didn't buy that because they're like, this costs way too much.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe if one of the stores has like a sale on their paints or something. I feel like I've been running low on some paints. I was gonna swing by Games Workshop on my lunch break tomorrow because I need more of that called Nyack oxide. I
I
burn
might.
through pots of that real fast when I do my terrain.
Get your Nyack fix. Does he
Seriously.
have it sitting
Tastes minty.
setting aside waiting for you as you come in? Ah, Joe, I have your pot of Nyack right here if you have the coin. Oh, you're working on some terrain. Well, you might need a couple pots, Joe. Luckily, I have a couple here.
I might get Wingspan on the on the Black Friday sale from somewhere. We'll see.
Yeah, be cool.
I've heard it's really good. I don't
It
actually
is.
know anything about it.
It is a fun game, and it's like I kind of want it for myself, but it's also like I know it's a fun game because a friend has it, so it's like it's always one of those like questions. It's like, do I buy this for myself or do I just mooch off my friend's copy and
Right.
always play with them? But it's all like, what if there's like a time I want to play and they don't come to whatever, occasion it is or whatever?
Backing up to lightsaber stuff, Christian says a good of heart smuggler manages to kill one of the Knights of Ren who had recovered Kylo saber. Good enough, good tough and tumble guy with a crossbarred red saber. Kylo saber is in the turbulent ocean of Keith Beer. Remember, he threw it
Yeah,
and then saw the memory of his daddy.
but someone recovered it. He said that. I mean, it's no different than, someone finding Luke's lightsaber somehow.
Yeah, remember when Han was like, "Where did you get that?" And she's like, it's a good story for another time, and then I don't think we ever got that story. Actually,
Eh,
maybe we did. I
we
think it was
didn't.
really
It's a
boring.
replica.
I think it
It's
was
not
in a
even
comic
real.
somewhere, and it was lame. It was like just in the trash on
Oh.
Cloud City, and somebody like was like, "Oh, cool," and
Also,
then eventually
I
she got it.
really hate every time people mention that because it's such a fucking stupid complaint. They're like, she said that's a story for another time, and then the movie didn't tell us the story. Thanks a lot, Kathleen Kennedy. And I'm like,
I'm not mad that the movie didn't tell us the story. I'm just feel like somebody should have, but I think maybe they did, and it sucked.
I feel like it's just like she found it somehow. The end. Who fucking cares how she found it? Really, I don't get why
The
anybody
Force
cares.
works in mysterious ways. I think she 3D printed it. It's a replica. It says replica on the side. She's like, why is Ray rooting through my box of like
Failed
Halloween
prints.
decorations?
My cosplay. Aiden.
Yeah, her Luke cosplay.
I don't like Maz.
And so yeah,
Kanata.
I would simply go to that moon I forget the name of, and I would use the Force to like find Kylo's lightsaber, raise it up out of the water, easy, or put on a diving suit, go find it with the Force, easy, easy money.
I think it's a little blurry, but you can kind of see
Ooh, yeah.
the eyeball. I don't know if you could see like the little bit of orange I added around the.
Here's
to it
my
there.
hot take: Maz Kanata, shitty character.
I don't know. She was fine
Yeah.
in TFA. I thought.
Yeah, but the longer with the movies combined plus the excellent novel whose name I forget, it was like the prelude to Rise of Skywalker that was like, oh man, this is cool, this movie's gonna be great, and then it wasn't. But basically her whole deal is like the light side, this is the only fight, the light versus dark, we gotta fight for the light, all this like
But also she's a
good
pirate.
good guy stuff. Yeah, but then she doesn't do anything except sit in her castle and do like pirate criminal stuff. She's settling a union dispute by like fighting people in Last Jedi. She in the book they're like, Maz, you have stuff, we need your help with the resistance, like this is our last effort, and she's like, I'm like at a spa, go away. Until she eventually is like, I guess, and then she doesn't do anything, she just chills and is like, go team. She's all talk and no action.
Yeah, I like her in The Last Jedi when she has like a jetpack and she's like shooting guys. Uh if that had been her whole character and there was none of the like force sensitive questionable stuff, it would have been better. Like just keep her as a pirate queen who they like I don't know, they have to like
What force
bypass it.
sensitive?
And maybe she has the lightsaber because she like bought it. She's a collector, but she
What
doesn't have
force
to know about the
sensitive
force.
questionable stuff?
She's force
She
sensitive.
like
I
sees
think.
the force in people and
When did that
stuff.
happen?
I don't know, in the movies.
Really? Not at,
Maybe in the books.
I don't remember that ever happening in any movie.
I think there was also a
She's
deleted
like
scene where
a
she
mentor.
explicitly used the force, but yeah, she
I
knows
mean, I
about
don't
the
know if we
force.
see her use
Oh
it,
my
but
god,
yeah, she's
why
like a
is
mentor who knows
Runefang
about Jedi.
why are fucking Citadel silver paints or their metallic paints just the most fucking useless pieces of shit paints ever? God damn it.
I couldn't tell you. What's wrong with
That
them?
Belcher's good.
They don't cover anything. You paint them on and you see right through the shit.
I've never
They're
had that issue.
Garbage.
Are you thinning it?
No, I'm like painting it right out of the fucking pot, and it's useless.
Weird.
It's always
I've
it's like this Runefang steel could just as well be just a fucking clear coat.
I've never come if anything, in my experience, mine have always been like on the thick side. I'm like, oh, am I losing detail here?
I mean, it looks a lot better on a black base coat than on white. I'll say that.
Where
Maybe that's your problem.
are one of my army painter silvers? Those aren't complete trash.
Christian did ask if did y'all talk about Filoni getting big time exec position even more so than what he had before? We
I
talked about it on Discord earlier. I don't think it's
yeah, it's like
fine. It's not like it's news, but it's not like I don't know. It doesn't. It's nothing particularly exciting to me.
I don't think it's not like that big of a promotion. Like he already was basically like the
Fingers
head
in
of,
every pie.
yeah. Um
I'm hoping, if
like
anything, it might. Hopefully, it just makes him a little bit more like overseeing everything a lot more closely.
yeah,
I don't
well,
know. I have
like
weird feelings about Filoni.
he did say he did say in an interview I read that the main difference now is like between what he was doing before and what he's doing now is that he'll be getting involved in the projects sooner than he used to.
Yeah, and I'm like mostly positive on Dave Filoni. Maybe like heavily mostly positive. Like he's made a lot of my favorite Star Wars and things I really love. And then every once in a while there's something where I'm like, what? What? This is a very Dave thing. This is just like maybe don't. Like Dave could never have done Andor.
Yeah.
And Dave will never be able to like let go of Ahsoka or other characters. It's but he's also like the most George Lucasy guy, whether that's a good thing or not, because like he uses what George taught him for things, which is often good and like not what like a fan would do, because he's like this stuff fans care about doesn't matter as much as telling the story properly. He's like, I don't know. I think it's fine and probably a good thing.
Yeah.
For everything Filoni does that makes me roll my eyes, he does more of that I think is good Star Wars.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't think it's going to change things very much.
Yeah.
I mean, because he's already pretty heavily involved on the creative side of everything right now, so it's like, yeah.
As
But
long as they like have some other voices and unique takes mixed in. Like I think that's something Andor
Right.
shows, that it doesn't have to be one specific flavor only. And they've like
Yeah.
mostly been removing like all the random extra people that they had promised movies to. I think Taika Waititi said Taika
This is still
Waititi.
happening.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
was like bragging about still working on it, so maybe that one's still gonna go.
I was gonna say he was still in just a interview a couple like a week or two ago talking about it. So
Which
I
of
mean,
all the people whose movies have been canceled, I'm like at this point I'm like the most worried about his just because he's made things I've really, really loved and made things that I'm like, give me I don't know. I'm very curious.
that sounds like a not, you know, that sounds like someone you want making a movie. Be like, he's made a lot of things I really loved, and like
Well,
one or
it's
two
that the
things I was just kind of like okay with, and it's all like, geez,
well the I guess the most recent I don't want like a whatever
Love and
the
Thunder.
most recent Thor movie was.
I
I
do.
remember what it was called.
Love and Thunder.
Yeah. Where he got it
Four,
was
four
too
Thors.
YTD. It was too much. Like Ragnarok, perfect. Jojo Rabbit, love that movie. Love and Thunder, he was like, oh, people love these jokes. What if that was most of the movie? And I don't know. It
I
felt
feel like you're way over.
well, maybe I'll have to rewatch that movie.
Because like honestly, like after listening to like you talk about the movie, I went into the movie like expecting that, and then I was like watch it, and I was all like, "What the fuck is Joe even talking about?"
What that movie?
Like I didn't feel like that at all. You know, like or
They're
like
like
people are like,
her. Let's strip a man naked and play it for jokes. We go her. We'll make a bunch of orgy jokes and then transition into like all this like kid power stuff. Like, who is this movie for? The kids who are cheering for the kid fight at the end aren't the kids who get the orgy jokes.
Well, no.
Hey, you know how we have the coolest villain in a long time with the coolest motivation of wanting to kill every god because praying sucks? What if we don't show him doing the god slaying? We'll just call him a god slayer and show that all off screen.
Now that I admit, but
That was so frustrating.
what,
And then like his daughter, like what if she ends up with a god? How do we think that he'd probably be fine with that, right? I liked all the Jane stuff. I thought the Jane cancer stuff was some of the most emotional Marvel in a long time.
I
I
mostly
decided
just
when
don't even
however.
remember it.
The I don't know, a lot of the new Asgard stuff was a bit hokey. They had like a snap ice cream thing, which like in the real world would be a cutesy thing to have at like a theme park where there's like a Thanos snap ice cream store, but in that universe, it would be like
It's
having
like a
like
whole
here's 9/11 times a million
worse. Yeah.
ice cream shop. Like
well, I mean, they do kind of do that though. I mean, it could be like just like maybe it was a joke, sort of like how like when you go to like certain parts of Asia, you're just like you're gonna be walking down the street and you're gonna
yeah, they
see
have
like
like
Hitler the restaurant, and you'll be like, what the
yeah,
fuck?
they do that, and then people tell them, and they go, "Oh, I didn't know," and then they sometimes stop. They're doing that.
Maybe it's like that. Maybe like
Didn't
the
you?
Asgardians just think it's sort of a funny joke, and then everyone else is all
Yeah,
like,
maybe they because half of them had already been killed very recently prior to the snap. So maybe like it wasn't quite random, and Thanos was like, "Okay, I'm going to give these guys a break. I'm not going to have them twice." So they didn't get snapped. So they, when everyone else was talking about it, they didn't have the internet yet, and they were just like, "That's a funny thing we could talk about."
and like everyone's afraid of like how strong the Asgardians are, so nobody wants to tell them that they're like being really insensitive dicks.
Wow, that's looking really good, Leo.
Oh, thank you.
Like now that you're starting to pick out some of those details on the base, it's like really coming together, and I think the washes or whatever on the underside especially are really popping.
Always wash your underside.
It is an important daily ritual.
I feel like especially for a 3D printed mini, like sometimes you don't really get the level of detail. At least on camera, it's looking like really good like flesh texture.
Yeah, well, like the guy that the store had print these, I think he must have a pretty nice quality printer because the
Mm.
stuff he prints for like store events always turns out really good. Because like there's another one, like this is one of my favorite things that I got to get around to painting one of these days, but it's a dead, it's it's all white right now, so it's kind of blowing out on the camera, so you can't really see it. But it's a dead tauntaun with let me see if I can shade it so I can't really, but it's got like a Luke shoved in its chest cavity and stuff too. It's that was a prize for some event also one time. I forget what we did for that one.
Would you use that as a tauntaun when you play? Because you put it on a base.
Yeah,
It has the base, yeah,
yeah, it's like printed on a bait.
with the
Like
notches and
Oh,
everything.
the base is part of the print.
yeah,
Because I would just not want it on a base and use it as like scenery, or like light cover. It'd be great cover. Like using a dead cow or a horse as cover.
You could always basically cover up the base with green stuff.
I need to. Speaking of Hoth, I got to figure out some. I think for my you cannot run diorama, I'm gonna make it snowy. So I need to. I think I have some snow, but I just need to figure out the best way to do that. So I might just prime it gray, do a lot of just rough gray dry brushing on all the rocks and the ground, and then just
Put
glue the snow down. The
yeah.
question is, these are the only two figures I have been doing OSL on for their lightsabers, because it's it's the Kenobi show. That's half of the show is like, look how bright the lightsabers are in the dark, and I'm like, I'll try and paint them like this, and I like how it turned out. I'm
Yeah, I
like,
think they,
can I
you know
do
me
that?
and OSL, but and normally I hate this stuff, but I think yours turned out pretty good.
Thanks. I did the old way I remembered from the Imperial Assault Sarastro Vader
Oh,
and Kenobi
I think
videos.
this is a gonk droid foot in the
This. Oh,
Hmm.
I thought you were still looking at your tauntaun. Like, did they shove a gonk droid into a tauntaun?
right there.
That's a good idea.
Um. So I'm wondering if I can paint the glow over the snow texture. I don't know how well that like snow powder stuff will take paint because I don't think I've used.
The powder. I mean, if you seal it first with like like just a clear coat, you
Uh-huh.
probably could like go over it with like a wash or a glaze and do it
Okay.
because um is it still laying around here? So I did this as an experiment with it's not the powder, but it's just like the white snow basing powder. Oh fuck. It's all blowed out in here. Of
I have
course.
to wait to see it anyways on the stream.
Let me see if I turn this light off if it helps. Yeah, that's a little better. Um so and I kind of went over the snow basing paste with a bunch of blue washes to kind of try and add a little bit of make some of the texture on it kind of stand out. I didn't end up quite liking how it looked myself, but
Oh yeah,
it's a thing you can do.
yeah. Maybe I'll just try and seal it and then see what I can do. Because I think if I'm doing snow, it's gonna actually be really fast. Because the vehicle and the boiler, I'll probably just paint metal and do some weathering on, and then everything else will just be gray with various gray dry brushes, and then snow, and then that'll probably still look. Vader always looks cool in the snow. Maybe I'll see if I want to add little footprints or something. But
Green stuff, a little snowman in the background.
I have to see if I want to put snow on the crashed speeder, because technically I could use the speeder as terrain scenery, and if I put snow on it, it won't match a lot of my other stuff. But
Yeah, I would want to keep it separate. It'd be a cool
yeah,
piece
I'll
to
probably
use
try and
elsewhere.
paint it to tie it in.
Oh, that's where that went. It's looking for that color. A color I couldn't find was stuck in with all my like technical paint type stuff. Like it was just a base color I couldn't find. Oh, where's one of my shitty old beat up brushes? Which is actually most of them. But... You ever used this typhus corrosion before?
Yeah, I have. I've had that for a long time.
I really like it for just like dirty weathering stuff.
Yeah, I think it's great. I use it on vehicles. I'm going to use it on my buildings that I'm painting. I used it on my Django Fett, who I created a base a lot like that one, where I found some bits and made it look like garbage that I stuck in some mud, and then put that all over the like the muddy bits and
Yeah, I love how it's
the
got
middle.
just like a little bit of like grit and dirt in it to like leave behind a little bit of texture.
I love that
Yeah, I
stuff.
feel like it's one I've seen it used a lot for like Plague Marine type stuff that looks really gritty and cool, I think. For 40K.
I gotta. I'm sort of regretting modeling the big building in the take cover has a gatekeeper droid. Like by the front door, there's like a keypad and a little hatch, and you can optionally have the hatch closed or open with a little gatekeeper droid popping out, like from Jabba's palace. And I magnetized it so it won't snap off. I can like keep it somewhere else. But it's like, well, at this point, like I should have maybe just had it closed. Just kind of cool, but I'm gonna have to paint that. Got to come up with a custom scenario where you have to interact with the door, so then we can throw the gatekeeper on.
Yeah.
Who comes out? You have to know the password.
That little guy is seriously one of my favorite little Star Wars guys.
It's such a. I feel like no other science fiction would have like the uh, smart doorbell like insult you and laugh at you.
Mm-hmm.
It would just be like a boring robot.
And it also seems to imply like it has like a gun built in, like the little part pops out like it's about to shoot you.
I always thought he was related to the thermal detonator.
Feels like something that would exist in the US in real life. Like your Ring doorbell can tase people or something.
The one of the gas stations just not far from my house is advertising that they have stun guns for sale. That's pretty exciting.
Where is selling them?
Like just a gas station down the road from me.
Cool. You can get lighters and
Hmm.
Stun gun is like such a misnomer. One of the many things where the marketing
the stun gun is
it's just a cattle prod.
Yeah, and it's also like a handheld.
It doesn't
thing.
shoot
Like
anything.
The taser should be what we call the stun gun.
Yeah,
because it's an actual
taser's
like
a trademark is
projectile.
all.
Yeah, taser is. I always forget. It's something electric rifle. It's actually the person's electric rifle.
Thomas A. Swift's electric.
Yeah,
rifle.
it's like a fiction character who had like a science
Johnny
fiction
Quest,
character,
basically.
Yeah, and then the guy was like, "What if I did that in real life?" Which is, as far as reasons people developed weapons, more fun than others.
I used to read Tom Swift books.
Yeah, they have that book at the HQ in the fancy HQ library.
Though mostly I only read the ones where he crossed over with the Hardy Boys, because I was really more of a Hardy Boys reader than Tom Swift.
I read some of that.
That is where I used to work, so I know a little bit about it. Not saying I'm an expert or anything, but
used to work with the Hardy Boys.
Yeah, and they would pay me to tase people. It's interesting. They have like a whole, like at the HQ, shit. They have a whole
no.
museum. There used to be like a taser shotgun, different weird stuff like that. They're trying to make drones that tase people, all this weird stuff.
Boy, I can't wait till the cops get those.
Tased. I dream of a world where everybody gets tased once a day.
Yeah, it was a whole big thing at the company. It sounds silly, but you could basically volunteer, and everyone thought it was really cool if you did. They would have special days that's like exposures, I believe is the word that they called it.
Uh,
And it'd be like on the calendar. It's like, the coming up, exposures coming up. Who
I
wants to
mean,
do it this time?
they're
So there's
probably
a
fun to
stage.
watch. I mean, I've seen videos of like, cops getting trained and everyone laughs like, ah, that looks unpleasant.
Except I mean, I think they like clap for you and stuff. They literally have a stage in the kind of the big atrium that's the HQ, and all the floors. You can walk out to the balcony and look down on the stage as whoever wants to do it gets tased, and it's like someone catches them, and everyone claps.
I might
It's
be
like
wrong,
a rite of honor, kind of.
but I think like maybe some places require you to have that done before you're allowed to purchase one. Maybe it makes sense that you should like understand the capability of the thing you're holding before you are allowed to like do it to someone else. But obviously they don't shoot you when you try and buy a gun. So maybe that's not true. Like, okay, just so you understand what this gun can do, we're gonna have to shoot you first. Where would you like it?
I know. So Agent Johnny Utah on our Discord server, I know he's been tased before, because he did like one of those like citizens uh, like citizen police training things or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and that was part of it. Is they you could get tased, so you would know what it's like. So he got tased, and I LOL'd at it.
Oh, were you there to see it in person?
No, no, I wasn't. But hearing stories of it is still funny enough.
Yeah, I never did the exposures thing myself either. I mean, not that I was only at the HQ the one time for right when I joined the company. So it's not like I had a lot of opportunities, but I don't know. I do remember too during our orientation, they had a guy like do a test fire with a taser to like show us. You get to hear like the pop going off. Except he like misfired and he shot a computer screen and tased a computer, and he was like, oops, don't tell anybody I did that. And it was like, okay. And this is supposed to be the guy at the company who like, does this all the time. He's supposed to know how to use them and not misfires. That was kind of weird. There was, little holes in the computer screen after he pulled the spikes out. Okay.
Fucking moron.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's the type of thing, for me at least, that I mean, not that specific event, just saying working at the company in general really turned me against the whole concept of everything they're trying to do.
Much more of
Kind of a depressing place.
I would imagine any place that manufactures arms would be to compassionate people. Even arms that are ostensibly, trying to be less than lethal, but obviously they're like, well, this is
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
can
and you're right.
the
It's
fact
not,
that
they
it
can't
is
even call it non-lethal. It's less lethal.
right.
They have some really high-minded ideals that sounded great when I was joining, because they're like, we want bullets to be obsolete. We want it so that no one ever fires a gun again. Cops only tase people and don't shoot people. That sounds great, except in practice,
Because
they
buy our stuff.
well, yeah, they're making money off of it, and no one does replace a gun with it. They just have both, right? They'll say like, well, wouldn't you rather be tased, which hurts briefly, than to be like hit in the head with a baton, which will do brain damage? It's like, great, except again, they have both. They're gonna have both. And I mean, I didn't work on the gun specifically. My stuff was related to body cameras. But even that, it was like, well, good that we have these body cameras, but it's kind of weird to be making money off of it and be selling it. Like the cop is the customer in the end, so that really drives the features in a lot of ways. And it's weird to be working like that's your customer. That's who you're trying to get on the call with to please. That's weird.
Yeah,
It's
you
very
can't be
weird.
like, hey, we want you to kill less people, and they're gonna be like, but come on, it's not my deal.
Yeah, you
You're
can't lose
losing
that
me. You're
contract.
losing you're losing the sale.
Yeah, I mean, I was working there during all the George Floyd protests, and it was like,
It's like a rough time to work there. Jesus.
yeah, it was rough. Uh, and they like said, oh, like, oh, that's all bad stuff. They played a nice game of trying to sound like they cared about it. And like, oh, we're gonna put all these features in to help stuff. Oh my god, it makes me so mad. We're gonna put in all these features, and it's like a bunch of dumb like VR training and bullshit. I was like, this isn't gonna help anything. Is all just so depressing. It sucked. It's hard to be on the call with NYPD and also have headlines of NYPD driving trucks into protesters and planting drugs on people and shit. It's like, I mean, I'm glad we have the body cameras. I'd rather have them than not have them, but they're not doing that much. If you can plant drugs on camera and you know, have nothing coming from it. Sorry to go down that whole rabbit hole. We were talking about taser. I don't remember how we got. Oh, you said your local store is selling stun guns. Yeah.
Yeah, because we started talking about somebody getting tased for some reason, and I don't remember why we.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been hit again with a taser or a stun gun, but I don't think a stun gun even does the same thing because it's like uh the prods are like an inch apart or something, right? So like I think it just kind of hurts a little
I
bit. I
think
don't
it's
think it like
yeah.
locks
It
your
doesn't
muscles up or anything, right? It's not really the same thing at
right
all.
because yeah, like a taser is causing a current that's crossing through a lot of your body, whereas the stun gun is sort of
Yeah,
like a
like your abdominal
localized thing.
muscles and stuff. Yeah.
I don't know. Not my area of expertise.
I mean, obviously, if someone pulled a stun gun on me, I don't want to get zapped with it. It's gonna hurt, but it's not gonna stun you. You can be like, "Ow, stop
Uh,
doing that."
I mean,
Die Hard 2 disagrees.
it's
Who knows more? Die Hard 2 or
it
the
depends on
guy
your
who worked at
definition of
Taser?
stun. Like it might surprise you. That's a stun gun.
Like, knocked a guy the fuck out on an airplane in Die Hard 2.
That guy had a heart condition. And these buildings are not looking that cool. But
And obviously, like what everyone wants is like stun mode in Star Wars, right? You can just shoot someone and they just go unconscious and they don't have brain damage or anything. Don't worry about what it means to be knocked unconscious. That doesn't hurt you. It's cool sci-fi stuff. I don't think that's gonna ever be humanly possible.
it's like a super
And
concentrated like melatonin bullet that just immediately puts you to sleep.
yeah. Well, and that's why they try to inject people with ketamine because they're like, we're gonna knock you out. And it turns out it's not good for you. It F's your body up.
Christian says they basically make your muscles super worn out because your muscles go to overload on lactic acid, so it's like super bad post workout weakness muscle cramp, if I remember correctly. That makes sense.
On the campaign podcast, which used to do Star Wars, they always joked about stun mode causing like irreparable damage to the people, and like it was a very funny bit. Like you're stunning these people and they like get cancer from it or whatever. Yeah, we're gonna stun you instead of killing you. But it's not good. Or even, I mean, the other thing, the real thing that happens with tasers, the number one way people get injured from them is you fall down and you hit your head on the effing pavement, and that can kill you. Like, it's it's not useful in a lot of situations. Also, all the times you hit someone with it and it doesn't, hit them cleanly enough to, like, if you're wearing clothes, right? Like, it has to get, if you're wearing a coat or something, like, it has to get through that fabric.
They should
So
all
a lot
have
of times it just does nothing.
net guns. That's what they really need.
Mm.
And the net is
Bola
electrified.
launchers.
Hmm.
I am not currently particularly pleased with how my buildings are looking. I'm currently throwing some null oil on them and then wiping it.
Good night, Christian.
Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
So what's looking wrong about your buildings? The colors kind of off, or
Yeah,
what?
partially also like, so they're painted bronze, and then over that was a gray, and then on top of the gray primer I was painting gray paint, but I was doing it sort of not 100% coverage, so there's a little bit of texture to it. And
Mhm.
then some of like the bronze at the very bottom is still sort of peeking out, and the sloppy texture I thought might make it look a little bit more natural and interesting. Just kind of looks sloppy. I'll probably do another sort of dry brush of a lighter gray and then see how that looks.
Hmm.
All right. I think for my final touch, I'm gonna take. I got like this sort of like dark orange here. I'm gonna use my sponge here to sort of speckle on a few spots on it,
Ooh.
and I'm gonna call her done. I think. Other than sealing it, I don't think I'm gonna gloss anything. I might gloss the eyeball, but I don't think I want to gloss the whole thing. I think if I do that, it's gonna look like too much, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Maybe around, maybe I'll put some like down in the
The
mouth
mouth.
area here. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be good.
Yeah, I guess if you gloss the muck and not the creature, it'd be like, well, why is the muck wet and it's not? It just came out of it.
Yeah.
Break the immersion.
I think it's looking really good overall, though, at least on camera.
Yeah. Please post a picture to Discord. All right, last question of the night. Which negative emotion would you struggle with most if you were a Jedi Knight?
Boredom.
Probably not anger. You guys know me. I'm usually
Yeah, you're
pretty calm
pretty
about
most things.
everything.
Such as silver paint.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how much this orange is actually even showing up because I kind of.
I think fear would be a tough one in general in Star Wars. There's like
Yeah.
a lot of bad stuff happening that would be frightening.
Like fucking Dianogas popping out at you and shit.
What about would you consider, I don't know if it's an emotion or not, cynicism? That's something I have a lot of. If Jedi can't be that, I might have a hard time.
But yeah, I feel like the full thing is like
I'd be like, oh
cynicism
yeah,
leads to
sure, this
fear.
war is Yeah, we're gonna good war, guys.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely more complicated than Yoda makes it sound, right? Like he only lists off a couple. It's just kind of off the dome. He doesn't have the full list of emotions
Uh,
memorized. I feel like there's a lot of bad ones that would over time lead to bad things.
so yeah, so I think I'm gonna pretty much call her done now at this point. I think the orange speckling didn't really end up showing up since I already kind of had a little bit of a red tone on it. That was giving it a little bit of an orange look, but I think
Hmm.
it's still there's like little subtle color variations that don't show up very well on the camera that I think you can see here that just like you know what I mean, how when it's like everything's not just one solid color, it makes it end up looking a little bit more
Yeah, yeah.
real.
Yeah, that looks really good.
Organic. Yeah.
So yeah, so um that is Dianoga. And that's pretty damn fast for me, finishing one whole mini in a one session. That's a thing I
Yeah,
don't ever do.
and
It's not a small mini either.
Thank you, contrast paints.
Yeah.
Yeah, so um anyways, you guys have a good night, and everybody who tuned in, thanks for watching. And yeah.
yeah, check out the painting channel on our Discord for a good close up of the final product here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you'll be able to see whatever Joe was working on. He always posts pictures after each one too.
It's not interesting enough because I'm just working on my buildings right now and they're far from done, so
Okay,
I
well,
won't.
Kurt will post pictures of his skeletons like 3 months from now, probably.
Yeah.
All right, good night, guys.
Bye.